Who is the best role player in the NBA? The definition of role player means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But today, we're going to keep it relatively simple. If you average under 20 points per game, you're a role player. And that's just the criteria we used in today's video. But Christmas Day, of course, happy holidays. Merry Christmas to all of you guys. We're joined today by four special podcasts. A co-host is a better way to put it. And all four of these guys have been on a podcast in our history, of course, on the road to 10K. And let's meet our drafters. Amir, you have the number one pick. And how you doing? Of course, you're on every single week.
I'm doing good. It feels good to finally switch it up. Not just do NFL, but also NBA podcast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Zach, you actually won the draft as far as which you got to pick which slot you wanted. And you picked number 2. So I guess, of course, let us know how you're doing today. But then after, why number 2 over any other pick on the board?
Doing great, Owen. Thank you for having me back on the pod, man. Love being on here. As far as number 2 goes, honestly, could not tell you. Just sounded like a good number at the time. Really didn't want to pick 5 for obvious reasons. There were a couple players that wanted to go at the top of the draft, and then 1 just kind of, I feel like that's the most challenging place to be. So I don't know. Decided
after we saw who had number 1, I think we all know who's going number 1. We'll get to that in a moment. But then AJ, unfortunately, you went in the first round of when we spun the wheel. You had the number 1 pick, and then we redid it. You ended up with number 3 here. Are you happy with that? And I guess also tell us how you're doing today.
I'm not totally fine with number 3. Number 3 gives me a couple good options that I hope are not stolen by Zach in front of me. But I feel great. Roll to 10K. Glad to be back on the show.
Absolutely. And then of course I'm at 4. Bakari, you're at 5. Of course, Bakari, long-time co-host of the show, and he's been on a hiatus because he doesn't like the podcast anymore. Anyway. Bakari, how you doing today? And welcome back to the show.
Yeah, it's good to be back from my ban. For those of you who don't know, I was on a 10-pod ban from our host. So everybody blame Owen as the reason I haven't been on it. But it feels good to be back. Obviously, this is like bread and butter. When I was on it regularly, we were doing these drafts every other week. So I'm coming for like my 10th dub in a row.
Yeah, I don't know if you've had one, but anyway, that's of course just my opinion. We're back today, and again, NBA role players draft. You guys have met the drafters. That is the draft order. So Amir has the number 1 pick, Zach's at 2, AJ's at 3, I'm at 4, Bakari's at 5. Snake style draft. So Bakari gets back-to-back picks. Hopefully you guys get the premise. But Amir, whenever you're ready, go ahead and kick off with the first pick. And again, for you guys at home, we have a draft board off screen. But of course, these guys already know the rules. Amir, go ahead and kick us off with the first pick.
All right, so for my first pick, no surprise here. I'm going to go ahead and grab James Harden. That's my number 1 pick.
Okay, James Harden, talk us through why you're going James Harden, as I think he might be the most talented player on the board.
I mean, the biggest reason why is because, as I'm looking at this draft board just right in front of my face, I'm looking at all the value I have point guard, and I feel like outside of just a couple of them, there's not much value. But I feel like there's plenty of value at the big spot, so I'm going with James Harden.
Absolutely. Zach, you're up, and I think that's a bit of a surprise. We all expected Amir. Of course, he has a man crush on Alperen Sengun, one of the best up-and-coming centers in the NBA, and he went with James Harden and not Sengun, and that's a bit of a surprise to me at least. But Zach, you're up next, and for the rest of you guys, after you make your pick, just talk us through why you make that selection. But Zach, number 2, you have the whole board. Where are you going?
I'll be taking Amir's man crush. I'll be starting off with Alperen Sengun. I believe is a great up-and-coming player in the league. Although his defense has been a little bit of a concern, he's a threat at the offensive end of the floor, and that's my main reason for going for him.
AJ, you're up for 3, and the best 2 players are off the board in my opinion. But where do you go here? I think number 3 is a bit of a wild card spot.
No, number 3 gives me a wide variety of choice. I can go with a guard, which to have not that high of value, but the bigs, I'm going with maybe the next up-and-coming big next to Sengun. I'm going to take Chet.
Wow.
Oh!
Wow.
Chet.
Who?
It's Chet. That's who it is. Chet should be rookie of the year over Wemby. Don't listen to the media. Chet is the best rookie, even though he's a second year. But he is better than Sengun.
Okay, that's crazy.
Given the NBA's definition of a rookie nowadays, I think Chet probably will win the award, but that's a different discussion for a different day. I'm more so on the side of, look, you got injured. Injuries are part of sports. I think it should go to Wemby, the actual first-year player. It's kind of unfortunate that Chet had a full summer with NBA trainers, dietitians, some of the best trainers in the world. But again, different conversation for a different day. I will go here, and this might be a bit of a controversial pick, but I'm going to go with Drew Holiday. A guy that to me, anybody on this list, I'm confident, and I can just put him on anybody 1 through 4, and he's going to at least shut down or minimize your guys' star players. So in a draft like this, I'm going to prioritize defense, and I'm going to go Mr. Drew Holiday to shut down your guys' best players. But then Bakari, you're up here, and I think this sets the tone for the rest of the draft. Where are you going with back-to-back selections?
Yeah, so I really like Amir's pick. I'm actually all 4 of you guys had some great picks here, so it's going to change my strategy up a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick my front court here. And with my first pick, I'm going to take Kristaps Porzingis. This is somebody who fit right into that Boston system, and is probably having the best season of his career. Being a third, fourth option. And I really like the floor spacing and rim protection he gives us on defense and offensive versatility. And my second pick, it's going to be a little bit surprising, but this is somebody who has really worked on their game and transformed their offensive. They've kind of enhanced their offensive or skill set, and that's going to be Scotty Barnes. This is somebody who can lock down positions 1 through 5. Scotty Barnes is going to, he's going to give us, another option of floor space. Obviously, he's not at an elite level, but this year he's been shooting really good. He's really worked on this game, you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, there's that highlight reel that was out there recently where his first couple years they were giving him the Ben Simmons treatment. They were not guarding him from 3, and then this year he's hitting step back 3. So I think definitely he has the argument for the best player on the board. But then I'm back on the clock, and I could go with an Evan Mobley, a guy that should be a defensive player of the year on a year in and year out basis. I could go with an OG Anunoby, which I think would be a really, really good selection here. But just looking at the draft board, looking at the depth of different positions, I'm going to go with a guy that is going to give me two-way ability. I think he's a 1 or 2-time All-Star. Regardless, he's a guy that, to me, mid-range demon. He can close out games for us if need be. And again, he's another guy I trust to guard 1 through 4. Defensive menace, DeJounte Murray, to give me an elite defensive backcourt. And then AJ, you're up next. You have Chet Holmgren, one of the young and upcoming, again, like you mentioned, potentially the rookie of the year. And who are you going to pair with Chet Holmgren here?
That was a great pick by you, by the way.
Oh, I know. I'm a drafter here. I set these up. I should be having a good draft.
With the pair with Chet, I'm going to go off a little bit of offensive firepower as I draw my controller. I'm going to go off a little reach pick, and I'm going to take
Buddy Hield?
No, I'm not taking Buddy. I'm going to go with Malik Monk. I am a huge fan of Malik Monk. I hated when the Lakers got rid of him because I felt like he felt perfect with that team next to Bron. But, I mean, Reeves came on super strong. So I'm going to go on the offensive side with my backcourt and take the firepower with Malik Monk.
You just got to be
as somebody who constantly reaches in these drafts and picks unconventionally, I don't mind that pick, especially if you can build some solid perimeter or some solid 3-and-D guys around that pick. You already have Chet. He's a 2-way stretch big. Why not go get a 3-level scorer in Malik Monk?
When you put it like that, now I think at the bare minimum, AJ, you have someone that is never going to be scared to take that shot, and that's, I guess, a good and a bad thing. But Zach, you're up next, and you have Alperen Sengun, a mini Nikola Jokic. Who are you going to pair with the Turkish big man?
Well, I think now I'm kind of just going to go with someone that's a jack of all trades. He can play a little bit of defense. He can create for other people. He can also score the ball if needed. I'm going to go with Franz Wagner here at the small forward spot.
I'm sorry, you said what? Franz who?
Franz Wagner.
Yeah, good thing Chances is not here because for those that don't know, of course, a guy in a group chat called this man France Swagger once upon a time. But Franz Wagner is here, and again, you have a lot of international talent, and I can see you're building an Amir kind of team, and those, if you know, you know. But Amir, you're up here. You have James Harden, one of your favorite players of all time, if I'm not mistaken, and you're up here for 2, and you have a good challenge here to build around a ball-dominant guy in James Harden.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in a weird spot here. You know, Harden obviously is a traffic cone on defense, so I need some defense to kind of cover him up. So I'm going to add to that, add a solid big. I'm going to go ahead and get Evan Mobley for my first pick.
That's a good pick. And then who are you going to go
my
with?
First of two. And then after that, man, this is kind of tough. I think I'm going to go ahead and get OG Anunoby.
I don't know if you could have built a better start, I guess, around James Harden. Great defensive, and 3-and-D ability from both of those guys. Maybe not Mobley with the 3, but he can step out in his own right. It just depends on who Evan Mobley's playing and what stage it is, of course. But Franz Wagner, Alperen Sengun, Zach, you're up next. Who are you going to pair with these international stars? I guess is a good way to put it.
So I'm gonna keep the situation international, and I'm gonna need everyone to keep their composure here with this next pick. On point guard spot, I will be going with Josh Giddey.
Josh Giddey, he's gonna dish it on and off the court. Josh Giddey's gonna come here, and you want him at your 1?
Arrest him.
Yeah, I'll take him at the 1. He's a decent creator, honestly. All jokes aside, he's a decent creator. He's halfway decent from 3, and he can get to the cup. So I think that's kind of what I need in a point guard. So I think Josh Giddey sort of fits that role.
And definitely an interesting selection there. And again, I mean, you have an Amir kind of team, at least as we've seen in past drafts. But I guess solid start here, especially with the international guys. AJ, I was going to say Aaron here, not your full government name, but Aaron. I was going to say it again. Who are you going to pair with Malik Monk and Chet Holmgren? You need some guys to fill in the voids here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with a nice little 3-and-D guy who's a known never swing the rock kind of guy, but he can switch 1 through 4 on defense. I'm gonna go take MPJ as my 3-and-D wing guy. He should be able to fill out a good need that we will need defensively on the perimeter, while we have Chet in the middle to just pack all these trash bigs out of the game.
Michael Porter Jr. is a guy that's my only question for you, AJ, is you have to get the right point guard to balance these guys because, we have Malik Monk and Michael Porter. How are you going to balance, I guess, getting the ball around the court?
I'm going to work my magic. Just wait. Just wait on it.
You're going to have to. But then I'm up next. I'm going to take a guy that – I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is Aaron referring to Black Magic?
Potentially.
It's
But
magic.
I'm up next. I'm going to take a guy that is a 4-time champion, the second greatest shooter of all time, and a guy that's averaged 27 points since Draymond has been suspended. Say what you want, but Klay Thompson to me is going to be perfect to fit next to Drew and DeJounte Murray. 3 good defenders and 3 guys that can arguably guard 1 through 4. Klay's obviously lost a step, but nobody on this board can shoot like Klay Thompson at his best. So I'm going to bring some much needed spacing there, and I'm going to get my I guess my 1 through 3. But Bakari, you're up for 2 here, and you're looking to pair some guard play, I would assume, next to this front court.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take my point guard here. He's obviously he's I guess the last good point guard, of the type of caliber player we need to win. I want to take Darius Garland here. This is somebody who is a dynamic playmaker on offense. I feel like he can help run my offense and get my guys the ball where they want them. And then I am going to go ahead and I'm going to take Devin Vassell, I'm sorry, to play my 3. I have a vision that's going to work here if everything falls into my plan. I feel like these 2 people, obviously Devin Vassell, he's a prototype 3-and-D, or not a prototype anymore, but he is a 3-and-D wing, long arms. He can hit the outside shot when he needs to. I feel like if I'm able to get the player to finish out this lineup, this will be very beneficial to me.
Absolutely. And then I'm going to keep the trend of defense going here. And again, I'll say this to you guys if you're still watching. This will be the last pick before we reset. So if there's any confusion, I'm going to go with the trend of defense on my team. I'm going to go with a guy that is in the Defensive Player of the Year running this year and a guy that is the unsung hero of the best team in basketball in the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm going to go with Jaden McDaniels, a guy that can guard Michael Porter Jr., Scotty Barnes. He can guard 4s, guard 5s, and he can even step out and guard wings, as we've seen all season. So again, I'm going to go with the guy that is a defensive menace. Keep the trend of defense going in Jaden McDaniels. All right, we're back if I don't get interrupted again. But I'm too cheap to buy Zoom Plus. You guys already know this. AJ, you're on the clock. You have Malik Monk, MPJ, and Chet. it looks like you need a facilitator to get that ball to different places.
I'm gonna go with a sneaky facilitator on a solid up and coming young team this year. I'm gonna go with a nice point guard of Drake's clone, his evil twin, Fred VanVleet, who's been playing extremely well this year with averages almost 10 assists a game, about 2 turnovers a game. That's it. And he can create his own shot. So he will be there to pass, never swing the rock, MPJ and Malik Monk, who just likes the gun.
Zach, if you're ready, you can dive into your next pick.
Yep, heading into my pick, I might take a little bit of flack for this one, but at shooting guard, I'm going to go with Lou Dort, another player off the Oklahoma City Thunder, who I believe has been very underappreciated this season as a perimeter defender. And I think he has probably the second or third option behind Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as well. So I think he has I think if given the opportunity to score, he can score as well. So
absolutely. And then Amir, you're up for 2, and you have some superstar power, I guess is a good way to put it, but then some defense. Where are you going to go out to fill the rest of this roster out, if I can talk?
So for my next pick, I'm gonna go with somebody who's playing, the best basketball of their career so far. Shooting elite from 3.
Don't do it.
Also can defend on the perimeter. I'm gonna grab Derek White as my 2.
Oh man, that's crazy.
I'm hating.
And then
I was waiting.
and then also for my 5, I'm kind of stuck here on what to do, but I'm gonna go with
Jared Allen.
No, I'm gonna this is tough.
Al Horford.
Honestly,
Tyrone Biggums.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and grab the person to come off my bench. The best available person to come off my bench. I'm gonna grab Russ and put him as my 6th man.
Oh, bro, I'm hating.
Interesting selection. Westbrook's one of those guys you have to, again, just like Harden, you have to, build around them in a specific way. Otherwise, it's not going to work. But again, you grab the buddies there from OKC and, of course, Houston. Now, of course, in Los Angeles. But Zach, you're up next, and you have definitely the most interesting build so far. Again, it makes sense constructurally. But who are you going with next here? As you need a 4, it looks like, but also you can go to your bench immediately.
Right. I do need a 4, and I think this cat is right at 20 points a game. I think he fits our criteria here. I'm going to go with Paolo Banchero.
He is over 20 points per
that's
game.
That's all-star, brother.
Yeah.
Get him out of there.
The only I'll say this because there might be some confusion. I did have Garland on this list because he was at like 20.3 points a game. And there was a guy or two that was at 20.5 or something. If you hit that 21 point mark, or if you were, just about at 21 points, you had no shot of being on this list. So Paolo Banchero was one of those guys because he's also a perennial all-star now in his career. But if you have another guy, I would go that direction.
Yeah, for sure. I had a backup selection just in case because I figured that was probably not going to be allowed. Tried to see if I could sneak a fast one. But for my 4,
first round pick.
For my 4, I'm going to go with Aaron Gordon. He's a versatile 2-way guy. Okay. And I think, again, he adds a lot of value to this team.
Absolutely. I like that. I like that selection. Of course, it's really, he's going to fit in like a glove as Sengun plays a lot like Nikola Jokic, just not as dominant, of course. But in a draft like this, he is an elite player. AJ, though, you need, of course, a wing, it looks like. Or, again, just like Amir, you can attack your bench. Which direction are you going to go?
I'm going to pick my 6th man. I'm going to pick the great country boy from Oklahoma, AR-15. He's another offensive firepower guy I can add to my team who can also run the 1 as well. Plays very unselfishly, very fundamentally sound, as you could say. But
I think he just plays the game the right way. Teammates love him.
Only
love
way.
Him.
First one in, last one out. That's what
always. I mean,
great weight room guy, locker room presence. Gotta love him.
Glue guy, good glue guy.
Well, I'm up next, and I have an interesting selection. I could go with Rudy Gobert because, again, that's a defensive player of the year guy just sitting there. But I know I'm not going to have any validation to my argument because Bakari, or anybody on this list that has a perimeter playmaker, you're just going to come at me with okay, we're just going to ISO Rudy Gobert, and I'm not going to have an argument against that because Rudy Gobert is time and time again. Right.
Remember, Ben
So,
Simmons gave that man 40 at one point in his life.
so then I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna draft. Yeah, I actually Bakari has two bigs. I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna come back to that selection. But then I'm here with an interesting decision. I have a lot of guards slash wings. I definitely need a little bit more scoring. So to me, I'm gonna go out there and draft a guy that is having a career year, a guy that just put up 47 points in a basketball game, and of course, our offense can be shaky at times. We don't have that go-to guy like some other guys, like you guys here on this list. So I'm going to go out there and get another perimeter threat in Keegan Murray. He can play in lineups with Clay if Clay's not, if Jaden McDaniels is struggling, or if Clay, he's just another glue guy we could throw in there. So Keegan Murray, to me, second year guy, he's going to shoot lights out for us. But then Bakari, you're up for two, and it looks like you need either a wing or some bench help.
Yeah, well, luckily for I got two picks here. So I'm going to fill out my starting five with my two guard here, and I'm going to get somebody who I'm glad fell back to me, and I'm going to take Alex Caruso. This is somebody that I hope hide Darius Garland on defense in the backcourt. I knew coming in that I wanted to kind of get my bigs and in perimeter defense to kind of help hide Garland. So I feel like I accomplished that in my starting five, as well as getting some valuable shooting out there. And my sixth man is going to be somebody who can come in and play make and create shots for himself as well. This is somebody who's having a terrific season, especially since the loss of somebody on their team, and that is Kobe White. I believe he's averaging like 25 in the month of December, so he's going to be my sixth man here. It's a little bit of a surprising pick, but this is somebody who shoots like 44% from three. He's averaging like 17, 6, and 6. So Kobe White's going to be my sixth man.
Yeah, I think Kobe White is top three in most improved player of the year award race, which is very interesting as, of course, he's having the best year of his career in the absence of a guy named Zach LaVine. But then I'm back up and I'm just going to do it. I'm going to fill out my starting lineup with, I think, the most underrated center in the NBA and a guy that I've, loved for years. I'm going to go with Miles Turner. And
Oh
I think,
my gosh, that was my pick.
a lot of guys, underrate him because, especially this year, because of the emergence of Tyrese Halliburton. But to me, he's the defensive anchor of this team. Again, this team is not great defensively, but if Miles Turner wasn't out there, they would. I don't think they're winning as much as they are. So to me, Miles Turner, perfect 3-and-D guy, can space the floor, protect the rim. That's what we need him to do, and he fits the mold of our defensive, scheme here on Team Owen. But AJ, you're up. Looks like you can fill out your starting lineup or pair the country boy with another guy on the bench.
I'm gonna fill out my starting five. I'm gonna get another defensive guy because we are lacking perimeter defense and switching through 1 through 5. I'm gonna reach and take the menace to society, Bron's arch nemesis, Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks, the 3-and-D menace. We pair him alongside Van Fleet. They've had a pretty good season together. He'll fit well on the defensive side, especially trying to hide Van Fleet and Monk with my liability of a backcourt.
Yeah, absolutely. Dylan Brooks, one of those guys that you hate to play against, but most people are going to love him if he's on your team. But then, Zach, you're up and you have a starting lineup already, unless, of course, you want to make some changes. But it look like you need some bench work here. Where are you going to go to start off your bench?
Yeah, I think to start off my bench here, one of the things I really kind of need is outside shooting, and a guy that can provide that as well as just tremendous effort all over the floor is going to be Alex Caruso, in my opinion. He's a guy that I think he's been sniping from 3
Caruso's gone.
Oh, he's already.
Amir, you got to wait for him to finish his whole spiel before I get to break the bad news. But Zach, Alex Caruso went at the turn to Bakari. That's strike one. Of course, if you get 3 strikes, we have to pick your player. But again, go ahead for your next and the next guy on your list.
Right, bro.
Yeah, the next guy on my list was actually going to be Lonnie Walker. He's just a 3-point shooter at this point, and I need some outside shooting.
Lonnie Walker, guy that is another guy that's having a resurgence kind of a year with the absence of Cam Thomas there for a little bit. He emerged and he's playing his best ball. Of course, Cam Thomas is back and frustrating his teammates. Regardless, Lonnie Walker is a very solid scoring option. Amir, you can either fill out your lineup. Of course, you said you wanted Miles Turner. There's still a guy on there that James Harden loves in Rudy Gobert. I think you compare those two together if you'd like.
You know what? Honestly, I think Zach just sold big time. For my bench, my other bench player, I'm gonna grab Buddy Hield, an elite shooter that will play perfect with Westbrook as the 2 guard. And at my center, I feel nasty. I'm gonna have to do this, but I need more rebounding. need more, interior defense. And I feel like I already got some scores from 1 through 3. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab Rudy Gobert at my 5.
Rudy
Barbecue
Gobert.
chicken.
At this point in the draft, it's you got to take some of the best players available, and Rudy Gobert definitely fits that mold. But then Zach, you got Lonnie Walker to start your bench off. Who are you going to pair with him off the bench? There's still some pretty good options, whether if you want a guard or a wing or even a big man. What direction are you going to go?
I think I'm going to go with another big man here. I feel like I don't have a great shot blocker, so in this case, I'm going to go with Time Lord here off the bench. He's a lob threat and a shot blocker, so I think he can do some nice minutes off the bench.
That's definitely a good pool. I put together this draft board for them, for you guys at home that didn't know, and it was really, obviously I missed some guys. when we went back and looked at the list, Time Lord was one of those guys I missed. But Zach, you grabbed him there, and of course we know he could be solid, for the majority of the time, unless he has to make a flight. For AJ, you're up here next, and who are you going to pair with Austin Reeves?
Pair with Austin Reeves, I'm gonna take a little bit more defense because we are lacking hard on defense. You could say there's a reach, even though I saw him get cooked the other day. I forget who they're playing, but I'm gonna take Herb Jones.
That's a good pick. That was gonna be mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I was going for him too, man. That's tough.
I'm surprised he fell this far, knowing that Zach can't draft for anything. But I'm glad I was behind Zach. Owen blessed me with this opportunity by taking away my number 1 pick and put me behind a complete scrub. So
Zach,
black and you work at Target, broke.
Zach, I'm gonna have to get your rebuttal. What are your thoughts on AJ's comments there? We're gonna have some beef here on the podcast. I need content.
AJ's dirty. He works at Target and he's broke. He's got no money. He needs to get the money up. Until he can show me 10, he can shut up.
I'm up next. And honestly, to me, I'm at a point where I'm gonna go for a guy that's I don't want Picard to have, especially with the big men that he has, and of course the scoring punch off the bench. I'm going to go with maybe a Hall of Famer, one of the few Hall of Famers on this list. I'm going to grab Chris Paul, a guy that's, he can play anything, but if at the bare minimum, he's going to be a guy that lifts up his teammates and gets his guys in the right position. So if Drew Holiday is being a little too handsy, or if DeJounte is being a little too handsy and they get foul trouble, I'm okay with putting CP3 in there to do what the team needs to win ball games. So to me, I'm going to grab the Hall of Famer. Bakari, you're up for 2.
All right. I know for my first, for my first pick, my first of the back-to-back, I'm going to take Jalen Williams. This is somebody who's averaging 17 in a young and up-and-coming Thunder team who, some say they are arrived. I feel like he will go well with Kobe White, and this next player I'm going to take, he's going to be my backup wing, and we're going to take RJ Barrett. Now, RJ Barrett is somebody who's averaging, I think, 19. He's had his ups and downs throughout his career. I believe I even had him in the last draft, or one of the drafts we did before. But RJ Barrett, this is somebody who, when you take the pressure off of this guy, this is somebody who can really hurt you. And I believe that with the team we have going right here, he can be very vital for me.
Absolutely. I'm in a very interesting position here as, again, I have like a wing and a guard. Of course, Chris Paul can't run anything but the one. So I can go a lot of different directions. I can get some big help for Miles Turner, but I think there's a couple of different options I like. So I'm going to wait on the big man position. And I'm actually going to go out there and draft LeBron James. No, okay, I'm just joking. Of course, there's some good guys on this list, though. We have Bruce Brown, Josh Hart.
Oh, should be on this list. He averaged like 2 points a game.
Carmelo Anthony, even if he was active and averaging under 20, it's too disrespectful to have a top 10 scorer of all time on a list like this. Anyway, I'm going to go with a bit of a sleeper pick, and I usually don't reach like this, but for those that know, this guy is an elite 3-point shooter, and again, he's going to be another guy we can fill in if need be. I'm going to go with Isaiah Joe, a guy that is shooting like 45% from 3. For the casual fan, you don't know. For the casual fan, that's what I'm saying. If you know, Isaiah Joe shooting like 45% from 3, and he is the second best. He's really the best shooting guard on that Thunder team. So to me, I'm going to grab Isaiah Joe to space the floor for all these guys we got.
Perfect. I'm gonna fill out my backup point guard position. I'm gonna take a guy who's having a resurgent year after getting paid, which is surprising with these lazy NBA players we got nowadays. But anyways, I'm gonna go with Cole Anthony.
Cole Anthony.
He's having a good 15, 16 this year off efficient numbers, low turnover rate. He can come in and run the offense behind VanVleet.
Absolutely. Zach, you're up here, and of course, these are some of the picks that necessarily they might not play key roles on your team, but again, they could be those missing pieces you need to put your team over the top. So you have Lonnie Walker, Time Lord. Where are you going to go to fill out the rest of your bench?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a guy that's actually playing for a G League team right now. It might as well be Malcolm Brogdon. He's averaging about 15 points right now, shooting about 40% from the floor, and I think he's a solid addition to my bench.
Absolutely. I didn't even know that he was down in the G. I guess that's what happens when Scoot Henderson finally makes his way back up to the pros where he was supposed to be. But anyway, Amir, you're up for two, and you have a good constructed team. How do you want to fill this team out, though?
So, for my other bench piece, I think they fit with Russ perfect. He's shooting over 40% from three this season so far. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab Bogdan Bogdanovic.
That's a good pick.
And then to anchor that, my bench, at the five, I'm gonna grab Nick Claxton,
Nick Claxton, Amir's favorite NBA player for multiple reasons.
the most handsome player in the league.
He can have my kids.
We're going to leave that in the podcast because, if they're listening at this point, Zach, you're up next. And of course, last two picks, where do you want to go here?
Let's see. I think I'm gonna go with Bobby Portis here. He's
Man,
Good pick.
that's crazy.
he's been one of the better players off the bench for the last couple of years now. He can pack an offensive punch and has pretty good post play as well.
Absolutely. AJ, you're up here, and same thing goes. Two picks left. Looks like you need some front court play off the bench. And how are you going to get that done?
I'm gonna go with one of the OG Jelly Fan members. If you know, you know. I'm taking Nash Reed. The 2K.
Oh,
That was going to be my pick.
Oh,
Bakari, you
man.
weren't going to get him. I can promise you. That was going to be my
Back-to-back.
pick.
Nash Reed is one of the most slept on bigs in the league. I stand on that.
Man, back-to-back picks were going to be my big. So now, Bakari, I'm just going to hope you don't take the only other big I trust on this board in the next or in this turnaround here.
No, I'm not taking Jared Allen.
I'm not taking Jared Allen either. Actually, I might come around. But Bruce Brown's a solid pick here. KCP, of course. Kyle Lowry's team captain. Of course, he when he's on a team, they win basketball games. Draymond Green, I can grab if I want to take out your guys' best player. A lot of great options here, and I'm really stuck between Bruce Brown and Grant Williams, in all honesty. But to me, I'm going to grab Grant Williams, a guy that is shooting 38% from three this year, doing very well for Luka Doncic. And to me, he's going to be able to space the floor, and he gets a little bit more size than Bruce Brown. So Grant Williams, he's going to be that annoyer on my team. And Bakari, you're up for two. And to finish off your roster, looks like you do need some bigs on your bench here to finish off. How are you going to finish off this draft?
Yeah, I like the wing size that J Dub and RJ Barrett give me. So I'm not as pressed to take two bigs here. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going to take a veteran in the backcourt, somebody else who can handle the ball. And I'm going to take Mike Conley. This is somebody who is
Dog.
his leadership is helping lead his Timberwolves team right now. They're number one in the West. And you can see the what he gives them. And then for my last pick here, I am going to take a big, and I'm going to, I'm going to do something that's it's going to be a little goofy, but this is somebody, I lied. I'm not going to do what I was going to do. I'm going to take Loon Dog. I ain't going to take Kevon Looney. This is somebody who's going to turn up. This is somebody who's going to give me 24s and 2 points. Loon Dog is coming to my team.
Pure glass.
That's crazy. And you know what? I'm not going to do it. Sure, it doesn't make the most logical sense to go out there and grab Jarrett Allen right now. Yes, it does. Jarrett Allen is obviously the best big talents-wise, at least left on the board. But I'm not going to do it because Jarrett Allen, frustrates me as a Cavs fan. So I'm going to go out there and grab a better big in the Eastern Conference, a guy that is chugging along at 132 years old, the Embiid stopper. I'm going to grab Al Horford.
That's who I was going to take.
Another veteran that, can slide in the starting lineup, or he can play off the bench. He's going to be able to, play better defense than people think. And I think Al Horford, to me, is going to do exactly what we need off the bench because our starting lineup, I love it. We just need some glue guys off the bench. Al Horford is exactly that. AJ, you're here and you're looking to finish off your lineup. What about Draymond Green? You want him on your team?
No, I do not want a Tipper Tantrum grown man on my team. This man is almost 40 years old, having full tantrums on the court, choking out people. That man needs a restraining order from Gobert. You know, I was thinking about taking young Dame, but he's definitely averaging more than 20 points. I'm gonna take Tobias Harris. He fill out another wing spot to come in and score. Not defend a lick. He can defend maybe a lick, but we won't even need him to defend that much. Just come get his buckets.
Yeah, I'm indecisive, hence my team, and I didn't really know what way I wanted to go, so I just kind of tried to make everything well-rounded.
You go with Pat Bev.
You have excuses now.
But I think for my last pick here, I'm gonna go with my man Rui. He's a decent defender, and he can score off the bench.
It's another guy I don't think I had on the board, but again, a very solid guy. And then Amir, you have some wings off the bench. Looks like, or some guards. It looks like you need a wing off your bench here. Or are you going to go a different direction? How are you going to finish off your draft here with James Harden and company?
I'm in a weird spot here. I need a wing. Oh man, this is tough.
There's one wing on the board that I think would fit your team perfectly.
Yeah, I got somebody. I got somebody in mind here.
Max Strus is there.
And nah,
Max, no.
I think I'm gonna go, with the a guy who can defend and a guy who has experience. Making it far into the playoffs. I'm gonna grab Andrew Wiggins here.
Oh man, that's
Andrew Wiggins. Some would say he was the second best player on the Warriors team when they went and won the chip.
I'm better than Andrew Wiggins.
Andrew Wiggins since then has not been right. Let's just put it that way. And he got benched recently for John Kuminga. I thought you should have taken Josh Hart. To me, I think that would have fit perfectly with your build here off the bench. I guess yeah, right. Who right? But the last thing I want to do before we get out of here, I'm gonna go team by team, and I want you guys to run through your team and pretty much just tell me why your team is the best team. It could just be a quick, 15 to 20 second monologue. But Amir, if you're ready, just go run through your team first off, and then tell me why you have the best team at the end of the day. So Amir, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, honestly, I love my team. I was kind of suspect at first, with the rebounding, but then I went and grabbed Gobert. It was averaging 12 boards a game, but shoot, 2 through 5 could lock up, and play defense. I think that's what separated me from the other teams. I could defend on the perimeter, defend inside, and I got Harden facilitating. And I have, 3 elite shooters, 1 through 3 on top of that. And then my bench, I have Russ, a guy who's played better on the bench these past recent years. And then I surrounded him with 2 elite shooters as well.
Absolutely. Zach, if you're ready, of course, run through your team. And again, why do you have the best team here on today's video?
I feel like Josh Giddey can just set everyone up nice. Everyone from Gordon to Sengun and Franz, especially in the post. And I feel like I've surrounded him with decent shooting coming off the bench. Overall, I just think I have a well-rounded team. I think my main weakness, though, is probably going to be perimeter defense, and dealing with some of those quicker guards might be an issue. But outside of that, I feel like I'm pretty well-rounded.
I think you might have the smartest team, and I'm not going to go into too much detail why, but you might have the most savvy team there. AJ, you're up next. Run through your team, and again, why do you have the best team here in the middle of the draft?
And we got a mix of shot chuckers with a mix of a balanced versatility on defense as well, especially coming off our bench. We have Naz Herb off the bench, who I can mix in with MPJ and D Brooks to give a crazy small ball lineup too, even with Chet out there. Our backcourt needs to figure it out defensively, of course, which won't be able to stop anybody. It's about to be like that sex land that Cleveland had back in the day. That couldn't stop a cold. But, we'll figure it out. I'm going to hire Monty Williams as my coach, the best coach in the league, and we'll figure it out from there.
Well, I think you could have probably sold anybody on your team, but then you mentioned Monty Williams, so AJ's not going to win a game here if we matched all these teams up. But then my team, to me, I think, we have 3 different people in our starting lineup that can guard 4 different positions, of course, in Drew, DeJounte, Jaden McDaniels, 3 all NBA defenders. Clay and Miles Turner, they're kind of limited to what they can do, but to me, I think 1 through 5 we can switch. And off the bench, we have, of course, some veterans with some shooters. I think we just have a lot of glue guys off the bench that if someone in the starting lineup is having an off night, we can plug them in. I think we can compete with anybody because, of course, we can shut down your best players and get our own is a good way to put it. Bakari, you're here at the turn. and you had a decision to make, and you were second on the wheel to decide, and you decided the fifth pick. So, for one, why do you have the best draft here at 5 in a spot that you chose?
Yeah, I like 5 because it kind of gives me a view of like what everybody else is trying to do with their teams, and it also lets me kind of sit back and alter it lets me shape my draft decisions off of what other people are doing and who other people take. As far as my team goes, I believe I have the best team because my team has 3 people. Caruso, Vassell, and Scotty Barnes, who I feel like can switch onto multiple people, multiple different defenders. And Vassell and Scotty Barnes are very good on offense, and Caruso can get what he wants sometimes too. Porzingis is a prototype, stretch 5. He can protect the paint, and Garland is an all-star, one-time all-star, but we've seen what he can do with the ball in his hands in the starting lineup like this. And in my bench, we have 3 guys that average over 17. And Conley is a vet who will kind of be that presence. One of the older guys in the league now, and Looney was more so a mean pick, but it's still funny because Looney will also be, he can hit the glass, and I feel like my team is well balanced between shooting and defense.
Well, absolutely. But again, that's another draft in the books here. Again, holiday special. Merry Christmas to you and yours. This is, of course, coming out the day after Christmas. But regardless, happy holidays to you and yours, of course, yet again. But that is going to do it here for today's video. Again, I want to thank all 4 of you guys for coming out to the podcast. These drafts are always fun, but of course, I can't do them without you guys. So I want to thank you guys for making time for the podcast throughout the year. But on the road to 10K. And again, any last thoughts from all of you guys here? Amir, Zach, of course, AJ, Bakari. Any last thoughts from you guys before we get out of here? Besides the fact that I need to buy Zoom Plus.
Yeah, I just want to say it's really good to be back, guys. You really don't understand how much I miss being on the pod, but I was banned. I was on the ban list. And this is a real thing. I was banned from the podcast, but it's good to be back. 2024, home free.
2024, we're on the road to I have some crazy goals for 2024. I'm looking at that, that big 5-0, of course, with a K on the end. But AJ here, any last thoughts? Of course, your second ever podcast. Before we get out of here, any last thoughts?
I plan on making another appearance, giving out some hot takes coming soon. Big 2024 year coming up for Old Dizzle. We're going up 10th grade subscribers. I'm here. I was here day 1. Give me some credit. No, I was kidding.
All 4 of you guys were, of course, Zach, second ever podcast, and 2 drafts for you in the book. So maybe you're just our draft specialist, or maybe not. Regardless, welcome back to the podcast. And again, any last thoughts before we get out of here? Okay, interesting thoughts from Zach there. But then we close off with Amir, a guy that, if you're a newer fan, Amir more so than probably anybody else on this list because he's at least here once a week. But Amir, any last thoughts before we get out of here?
It's always a blessing to be on the pod week by week. Owen's going to be at 10K soon, and he's working super hard. And, I'm just excited, to see where this episode goes.
Absolutely. Of course, if this doesn't hit number 1, you guys are all banned permanently. Bakari, I made an exception for you to show up on today's podcast. But without further ado, that's going to do it. Enough yapping. We'll see you guys tomorrow for some fantasy football. Until then, we're out.